Buhay Online, Chikahan at kaalamang pangkabuhayan. Ating tunghayan, pakinggan at tuklasin ang mga pangyayari at kaganapan sa mundo ng online. Buhay Online, Chikahan at kaalamang pangkabuhayan. Alamin ang pinaka-latest trends mula sa trabaho at kung hanggang saan na ang narating ng teknolohiyang ito. At ngayon, narito na ang ating host, ang ating Techiemommy, si Jaye C. Bautista.
Hello, so sorry po. I was already kanina po, ay nag-online na po tayo, pero naputol po, na-interrupt, there's something wrong, technical difficulty na naman po. But anyway, magandang umaga po ulit. Welcome po to Buhay Online. It's Thursday and I was talking about, umiinit na ang panahon. At of course, at the same time po, ang issues pa rin po, prevailing issues of course, yung mga results ng election sa Philippines. At the same time, meron pa rin mga concerns about counting of the ballots for some reason. But at the same time po, prepare na rin po para sa bagong sa pwesto sa ating bansa. Of course, we're all hoping for a better future, a better tomorrow for all of us here in the Philippines. I mean, whatever the results po, dapat na natin i-honor at tanggapin, and we all have to just be hopeful and pray that everybody will work together towards the common good. Okay? In the Philippines naman po, accrediting vloggers a palace media priority. Okay? Ayan po. Dahil po yan sa mga media, bibigyan ng priority. Accrediting the vloggers to cover. Ayan. Vloggers po kasi ngayon, nowadays, ang bagong media, yung mga vloggers. Diba? Ako po, part ako ng old at new media. I've been in the media also for more than 15 years together with my sister and my sisters. But accrediting vloggers to cover President-elect Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in Malacanang will be a priority of the Presidential Communications Operations Office, or PCOO, under the watch of appointed Press Secretary Trixie Cruz Angeles. Okay? We are pushing for the accreditation of vloggers to be invited to some of the briefings, especially those conducted by the President-elect. That is one priority we have formulated, Angeles said at the Laging Handa briefing on Wednesday. Okay? Yan po, kaibigan po natin yan si Attorney Trixie Angeles. Okay? Na ngayon na siya ang head appointed ng PCOO. Okay? She did not expound on the guidelines for accrediting bloggers who would be allowed to cover presidential events. In a statement, the National Union of Journalists in the Philippines said that while the accreditation of bloggers to cover Malacanang in principle entailed democratizing access to the president-elect, it must not be at the expense of institutional media, which were sidelined during the election campaign as false information spread rapidly online, some of which were traced to the same network. Angeles, a lawyer vlogger, served as chief social media under the PCOO from 2017 to 2018. Okay? In August 2017, Communications Secretary and current acting presidential spokesperson Martin Andanar issued an interim policy for accrediting bloggers who wanted to cover the events of President Rodrigo Duterte. The policy is still existing. Deputy Presidential Spokesperson Chris Ablan had told reporters in a text on Wednesday. So ayan just because of technology talaga, there's no media. Yan nga, yung mga bloggers, ay media na rin. Araw talaga, when we would attend press cons all over the world, we felt that, syempre yung mga old school media, iba yung feeling tungkol sa bloggers because in our minds, of course, journalists especially, dapat may proper education, proper experience. But now, for some reason talaga, the bloggers are actually making more money than press or media and journalists. But, this is the new world. Okay, this is the new normal even in media and public relations and advertising. Okay, but so per his department order, okay, in Department Order number 15, Martin Andanar said accreditation would be issued to any Filipino citizen at least 18 years old and with at least 5,000 followers on any social media platform. Per his department order, a social media practitioner is a person that maintains a publicly accessible social media page, blog, or website, which generates content, and his principal advocacy is the regular dissemination of original news and or opinion of interest. In May 2017, a pro-Duterte blogger was allowed to cover Duterte's official visit to Russia. Project assessment. Angela said she would make an assessment of all the pending projects and will decide later whether to prioritize them or put them possibly on the back burner. Asked if the PCOO would allow all journalists to physically cover Marcus Jr.'s events, she said, we'll have to look at the existing policies first and make a decision as to how appropriate they are for the current times. In February 2018, Rappler reporters, including its CEO Maria Ressa, were banned from covering the events of Duterte after he called the news site a fake news outlet. In a TV interview on May 16, Victor Rodriguez, the longtime spokesperson of Marcos Jr., said his appointed executive secretary said bloggers could also be considered members of mainstream media. The way we conduct our news reporting has also changed. Even the traditional brick and mortar media have resorted to the use of social media. Totoo naman. Present company included, di ba? Tayong lahat. We will see if they also have the right to be reporting what is happening to the state of our nation. What are the standards, okay? But University of the Philippines journalism professor Lucia Tangi, president of the Journalism Studies Association of the Philippines, told the Inquirer that accrediting vloggers to cover Malacanang or the presidency would be problematic. I can see her point, okay? First, what standards will PCOO set in the accreditation of vloggers? How can the PCOO make these vloggers accountable when they do not have editors and publishers to vouch for them? What ethical and editorial standards will you impose on these vloggers? We must continue to uphold and protect the integrity of the journalism profession, she said. Journalism professor Danilo Arao of the UP College of Mass Communications said accrediting bloggers to cover the palace could be dangerous because fake news is often disseminated, totoo naman, by influencers and bloggers not trained in the practice of journalism. Thank you, thank you. That is also a very important point. Hindi po sila seasoned, hindi po sila aware din sa mga subtleties at sa mga decorum ng media at journalism. Angeles, who maintains a blog seen as favorable to Duterte, said the PCOO was looking to hold palace briefings once or twice a week, and more if needed. Okay, the regular once weekly briefings are for the updates on pending issues, and then possibly a second one if there are issues that need to be addressed immediately. She said, adding, "We're not going to limit it, of course. If it is necessary, we will have more briefings, but other than that, the plan is one or two at least." When he was running for president, Marcos Jr. favored bloggers and influencers and largely shunned the mainstream media. O nga, di ba? Hindi nga nag-attend ng mga debate, believing they were biased against him. Several journalists who covered him reported being harassed or boxed out of the coverage. Toxic media landscape po. Among others, Arao suggested that Angeles consult the Malacanang Press Corps, or MPC, and other stakeholders regarding her proposal. In a statement, the MPC said it would defer comment on the matter until the details of the proposed policy are threshed out by the incoming PCOO leadership. Arao and Andanar accredited bloggers and influencers, but they rarely showed up for Malacanang briefings. The policy came under fire after a known pro-Duterte blogger, Sasot, confronted a foreign correspondent over the latter's efforts to interview a certain blogger critical of Duterte. Dapat freedom of the press, di ba? Bakit ganun? Given the toxic media landscape, this is a dangerous proposal given that fake news peddling is being perpetrated by certain influencers, and there is ongoing harassment and intimidation of certain journalists toward legitimizing them. Okay? Ito sinabi ni Arao. Said the NUJP, the space for trained professional journalists providing vetted information continues to shrink. Totoo naman po. Dahil panay ng mga vloggers na, panay ng mga ano ang nakakalat dyan. Paano na yung mga talagang broadcast journalists or mga newspaper journalists per se. And if the incoming Marcos administration is sincere in upholding transparency and press freedom, it would ensure that this space of these seasoned journalists, professional journalists, is protected. Okay? Uson's office, si Mocha Uson, social media practitioners who wanted to cover the 13th events were told to apply for accreditation from the PCOO's social media office headed by then Assistant Secretary Mocha Uson. Then how the PCOO could implement quality control over accredited social media practitioners. Ablan said he hoped they would behave once given accreditation. With this presumption, he said, there was no reason to state in the department order a prohibition on the use of foul language. Ano kaya yun yung presidente ang unang gamit foul language, no? According to a Freedom of Information request lodged in the electronic FOI portal, as of August 15, 2021, there were no social media accounts or blogs as accredited by the PCOO. Okay? In connection to this, okay? In connection to this, all right? Incoming press chief Trixie Angeles, the attorney Trixie Angeles, brushes off old social media posts versus Imelda Marcos. Right? Designated press secretary Trixie Cruz Angeles on Thursday brushed off the revival of her previous social media post against Imelda Marcos, mother of President-elect President Marcos Jr., who she would soon serve as member of his cabinet. During a briefing with the media, the lawyer and blogger was asked about her old tweets that sought the arrest and detention of the Marcos matriarch, which had been going around social media, anew following the announcement of her appointment. Aren't people entitled to change their minds? I think we are, diba? Angeles responded. I think that evolution is a natural thing, even among our consciousness, she adds. Angeles said she has talked about her change of mind in her blog. Actually, we've talked about it. As you know, I am a blogger, and we have talked about it extensively on the blog. And you know, we have conducted several lives about it, and I've told my story about how and when I changed my mind about it. So that's it. That's pretty much it. I'm sure you can see that. She further said, okay? In February 2013, Angeles tweeted about attainment of true justice when we see at least Imelda Marcos in jail. At that time, the late Benigno S. Aquino III, son of democracy icons, former Senator Ninoy Aquino and former President Corazon Aquino, was still president of the Philippines and holding the seat of power in Malacanang. Ninoy Aquino was a chief political rival of Marcos Jr.'s father, the late dictator Ferdinand Sr. in the 1970s through late 1980s, especially after the declaration of martial law in the country. In December 2018, Imelda Marcos was found guilty of 7 counts of graft by the Sandigan Bayan. She is released on bail while an appeal is pending before the Supreme Court. Okay? All right. So yeah, on that note, we leave the politics behind. All right. So ngayon, ano po ang ating topic today? Because yesterday we were talking about the top jobs of women, and, but then also we talked about the workplace. Today, we're going to talk about gender equality in the workplace po. Next week na natin ito tackle yan when I have my resource people with me. Okay? Today, we will talk about, hold on a second. Essential na po because I have to, all right. Kasi I want to be able to talk about gender equality first in the workplace pagka meron po akong mga resource people. Okay? All right. Hold on, please. Bear with me, please, kasi my internet is a little bit laggy. For some reason, tumagal po yung internet ko yesterday. You know, I'm paying for over 100 Mbps na speed. But from yesterday po, 30 plus lang. Okay? Ang internet. So what are we gonna talk about? Let's see. Palagi na lang palagi panay Elon Musk na news. Gusto yan Elon Musk. All right. Okay. Let's talk about social media. Okay. All right. As of yesterday po, no? Hackers. Okay. Let's talk about this. Let me show you this important news regarding hacking. All right. But first, let me just bring it up. Oops. Attention na po. Sorry. Why is what happened to my okay. Somebody text, hold on. Regarding the workplace. Okay, I was gonna continue not why don't I continued now where I left off yesterday regarding workplace and okay. So but we will tackle the issue of gender equality tomorrow. Okay? Tomorrow na lang po natin yan pag-usapan, right? But for now, sandali, I will just put on the board this graphic about the topic that I want to discuss now because I'm reminded by a text here tungkol sa workplace. Hold on a second, please. Bear with me. Pasensya na. Nangyari. What is it? Oh, I'm sorry. Pasensya na po. Sorry. Dahil, what is this? Okay. Toxic workplace. Ayan. What can you say about the toxic work environment? Ayan po yung tanong na gusto kong sagutin na pumasok sa aking text. Alright. Let me just bring out that issue. Okay. Because ko na yan, kanina nga pala yan tinanong sa akin. But, this not it. Where did I put it? Sorry, pasensya na po. Sorry. Topics. Hindi ko makita. For a second. Anyway, okay, I'll just talk about it, okay? There's a question po here, sabi niyo, how can you deal with a toxic work environment? Okay. All right. Well, ito ba yung graphics ko? Sorry. Before, hold on a second. What happened to my computer? I might as well. Nawala tuloy yung aking. Sorry. Okay. How do you deal with a toxic work environment? Okay. Toxic workplaces are more common than we think. Like they're more common than we think. But when do we say enough is enough? okay? Sa mga nagtatanong niyan, okay? Okay, I will just address it now and answer it, okay? Oops. Okay, case in point, okay, kwento ko lang. So in Singapore, John, a 26-year-old educator with a well-known enrichment center here, worked for a boss who is highly educated and well regarded by his peers and clients alike for his expertise. Ito pa yung case in point. But within the company, the boss, okay, a high achiever by any standards with a glittering resume most can only dream of, is one who believes in rule by terror. Okay, ruling by terror po kasi yung mga ibang boss, meaning, yun po, naninindok yung mga boss, mga Bolshevik na boss, mga terror boss. Before anyone could get a grip of what is going on, the boss would from time to time, kunyari, bombard staff with up to over 100 text messages at one go in the company's WhatsApp chat group, usually targeted at one employee. Ay, Diyos ko, ano ba yan? Mahirap naman. Derogatory, expletive-laden messages typed entirely in all caps, okay? Which John showed dito sa nag-research nito, topic, are often sent, pinadadala to sa kanya late at night or during meal times in rants that would at times exceed 1 hour. They included phrases such as human trash, your mother should have had an abortion, and you deserve to die. Oh my God. Sa Amerika, subukan nila tong text sa empleyado nila. Hindi pa makulong siya no, masu ng milyones. Although John, not his real name, has so far not been the target of the boss's rage, he said witnessing these frequent and intense tirades are enough to fill him with dread whenever the notification chime of new messages go off sa mobile phone niya. So, nagkaroon na siya ng trauma kasi alam nila na pag yung boss nila ang text ng text, di ba? Alam nila na, yan, sorry, na toxic. So, parang na-trauma na sila makarinig ng ting-ding ng message, right? Okay, so yeah. My workday could be going well, but all it takes is one message to evoke fear and cause a total mood swing, and many of my colleagues feel this way too, he said. In response, employees at the receiving end can only apologize and promise that the task being requested will be done immediately. John had not seen anyone challenge the boss over the months that he had been included in the chat group. The company's culture is also such that people are constantly asked to work after office hours or respond to messages late at night. If they do not do so, they will be termed as disrespectful and threatened with termination letters, even legal action. Okay? Itong sinasabi ko po, ito ay si John sa Singapore. Iba-iba po talaga. Culture, tsaka work ethics. Dahil po, pag ito, never itong mangyayari sa Amerika. Never, nunca, na ang boss mo, i-text ka na may proof pa dyan. My God, in America, of course, you know, harassment is very grave. In the workplace, lalo na, ang daming nanalong kaso na sino ang mga kanilang opisina, you know, and for less graver offensive na yung sexual harassment, of course, that's serious, pero kahit na yung tinawag ka lang fat or ganyan or ininsulto ka, dinademanda, ito pa kayang minumura, you know. At sa Singapore, ganyan, pwede kang murahin ng boss mo. I think in some cases in the Philippines, ganyan din eh. Sa Amerika po, hindi pwedeng ganyan. That will not fly at all because isusumo ka agad talaga. Lalo na may proof pa na ka-text, Diyos mio. Magayaman yung empleyado na mag-demanda sa kanyang boss, okay? So, the company's culture is also such that people are constantly asked to work after office hours pa. Tsaka yun nga, threatening termination kung hindi ka nag-comply kung mag-overtime. While the job pays well, John said the harsh working environment has seen at least 25 full-time employees, interns, or temporary staff leave the small firm over his period of employment. Yun na nga, pag ganyan ang boss mo, yung turnover po ng empleyado ay mabilis. He is also already planning an exit strategy for himself. While toxic workplaces, okay, which encompass a whole range of harmful behaviors displayed by mga boss at mga managers, it has existed all over the world for time immemorial. The issue is in the spotlight after several well-known companies in Singapore were in recent years accused of having such a toxic work environment. Okay. In 2019, Mr. Tan Min Liang, the co-founder and CEO of gaming hardware maker Razer, sikat po ang Razer ha, he was accused of, among other things, being verbally abusive and sacking workers for minor transgressions. In response, he said he was a very intense person when it came to his staff's quality of work, and certain statements were made in jest. Hello, nagbiro ka, minura mo ng MFA, whatever, or nag-PI ka, or nag-PI ka sa tauhan mo, biro. Well, sa Pilipinas din kasi parang biro rin yung mga ganung mura, no? Ito na nga yung presidente, mura ng mura. Dating presidente. In July, current and former employees of video game developer Ubisoft Singapore alleged that sexual harassment and racial discrimination had occurred in the company, which is headquartered in Paris. Okay, sa Paris naman yan. Singapore Employment Watchdog Tripartite Alliance for Fair and Progressive Employment Practices, or TAFEP, is investigating the allegations. In late September, the co-founder of independent bookstore Books Actually, Kenny Leck, 43, was alleged to have not paid salaries and made inappropriate romantic advances to his younger female employees at the bookstore. Ayan po, bawal na bawal din yung po, lalo sa Americans ko. Mr. Leck later said he would relinquish ownership of the stores and also apologize to all those he had cost paid. O inamin. O tapos, nag-resign. Bayaran mo, hindi demanda ka, sira ka. Sa Amerika, ganyan. You know, they can sue you for sexual harassment. They can sue you for oral defamation of character and win too. Okay? Pinaglalaban yan talaga ng mga lawyers, ha? Kasi syempre may cut sila dun. In the latest case, production firm Night Owl Cinematics, NOC, saw a spate of anonymous and verified allegations pasted on social media, purportedly showing its co-founder and chief executive officer, CEO Sylvia Chan, being verbally abusive towards one of the firm's on-screen talents. Oh my God, yung talent pang yan. While NOC on October 10 issued a statement calling the online allegations a massive crusade against the public image and reputation of the company, Ms. Chan followed up with a statement on Wednesday apologizing and admitting to have used strong language towards the employee, Ms. Samantha Tan, 27. Inamin din. Ayan talaga itong mga to. Ms. Chan, 33, said, I always thought that a leader should be tough, and I now realize that I may have come on too strong, and people have now perceived me to be unkind and rude because the words you use were rude or nagmurakan. Ayan naman to. Right? Okay. In recent years, accounts of toxic offices are coming to the fore amid the proliferation of social media as online platform. Dahil nasa social media yan, pwede kang magsumbong, pwede kang mag-call to action, pwede kang mag-post na patama sa mga boss mo or whatever. Okay? At yan, ang meron pong platform na dyan mo pwedeng isumbong lahat ng sumong sabihin tungkol sa trabaho mo, sa kumpanya mo, pwede mo palang i-cite free country ito. Ito ang tawag na dito ay Glassdoor. Okay? Glassdoor, exactly, Glass, G-L-A-S-S door, and Telonym. Sabihin niyan, Telonym. I think that's a pun on or a linking word that means tell on them. Telonym, which allow unhappy employees to air their grievances anonymously. In interviews conducted this week, more than 10 individuals spoke about how their mental health suffered due to highly toxic work environments and also their disappointing experiences in seeking redress and accountability from people at the top. Okay? Ito naman talaga, ang stress sa work, sa ano po, di ba? Marami po akong estudyante from Japan for the past 4 years that I've been teaching in this platform that I do not want to mention kasi nga, you know, hindi talaga, I will not say what company that is nor endorse them because their operational procedures leave much to be desired also. Okay, but anyway, speaking of, toxic working environments, really, in Japan, because they're very humble and meek, they are not even allowed to voice out or if they're mistreated at the workplace. Hindi po yan uso sa kanila, hindi nila yan ginagawa. So, wala silang boses magsalita or mag-complain or so, uh, you know, they ditong interviews that they conducted on 10 individuals, okay? They included employees of public sector organizations, startups, and multinational corporations. Some of these workplaces have highly developed human resource structures to handle such complaints. Eh, yung mga maliliit na kampanya, wala naman silang HR na yung mga extensive na tinetest mo na yung psychological makeup ng empleyado, or even kasi yung mga boss dapat na-check din yun kung medyo yung mga topak, But some of these workplaces have highly developed human resource structures to handle such complaints, yet the rank and file do not have enough trust in these as the best avenues to seek help. O hindi nila, sa mga kumpanya, hindi nila masyado tinatrust yung HR nila. Bakit kaya? In the minds of some disheartened employees, their workplaces have become something of a wild, wild west. Bakit? Kasi it's a place where yung mga bullies and harassers roam freely. Lalo na may mga boss na gano'n, no? And their victims are unable to tear down the power structures that foster a toxic working environment in the workplace. Okay? Contributing to their sense of helplessness, di ba? Ang ano pa, bakit pa sila nagiging hopeless or helpless is because merong fear of reprisal against victims who speak up. Parang natatakot nga sila na pag sila yung whistleblower, eh, merong repercussion. And di ba, hindi mo yan, di ba, I'm impressed dun kay Francine, ba? Ng whistleblower ng Facebook, di ba? Ilang taon siya rin nagtrabaho doon sa ibang department, pero siya ang nag-expose na ang Facebook daw ay profit lang ang concern. They do not care about their subscribers or their followers because they can post anything without verifying basta magbayad lang daw ng ads. So, yun, kaya naging under fire ang Facebook. Dahil may isang empleyado na hindi natakot magsalita against them to expose them. Pero yun na nga, there's the common fear of reprisal against victims who speak up, or even whistleblowers who are not the victims, okay? As a result, most cases go unreported as victims simply resign quietly from their jobs. Hindi sila nag-complain, yung sa Japan, hindi sila nag-complain, they even stay there forever sa jobs nila kahit na may problema. Miss Joanna Ong Ash, 52, okay, another case. A former head of marketing and brand management at a local bank is one of those who decided to do just that. Okay? She had a boss who made her life living hell with incessant bullying and verbal abuse. He once even insulted her publicly using a Hokkien sexual slur. Hindi mo kabastos talaga, right? Wait a minute po. What happened? Akala ko wala naman ako sa ano. Hello there, Christy Tagle. Good morning. Good morning, Christy Tagle. And good morning, Angelica. Happy Thursday to you all. Pasensya na po, kanina naputol yung broadcast ko kasi parang wala ako dun sa screen. I don't think so because I saw in my PC that I wasn't there. Anyway, wala na naman. Wala ako. Okay, so going back to the subject of, toxic workplaces, yan pong ating pinag-uusapan ngayon. Ms. Christy Tagle and Ms. Angelica, kayo po ba naka-experience or nakalaman na kayo ng toxic workplace? Or have you experienced being in a toxic workplace? Or have you seen how certain employees or mga colleagues nyo ay naapektuhan ng isang toxic environment? Because some people, of course, most people go to a job not to have best friends or pleasant, because they need a job. So that's why a lot of people have to endure toxic environments, right? Parang walang choice. What is your take on that, Miss Angelica and Miss Christy? What do you think about that? Working uh, because you need to work and not minding na lang dapat yung toxic environment? And what is your take on this? Okay, parang hindi ka ma-handle yun. Anyway, um, so yan, yung I was talking about si Miss Joanna Ong, Ash nga yung kanyang boss from hell, okay? Living with, ang tawag niya doon sa term na yun, her boss made her life a living hell, okay? Pati yun na, she, he once even insulted her publicly using a Hokkien sexual slur. Sabihin yung sa language na yun, minura. And binastos, okay? When she finally plucked up the courage to report her problem to the bank's HR department, she got brushed off with the remark, "He's just like that, lah. Joe, what can we do?" He's just like that, lah. Joe, what can we do? Shocked, Miss Ong Ash escalated the matter to her boss's boss, only to hear the latter counter-propose for her to stay on to help him find a silver bullet to get rid of the man who had been terrorizing her. Right? So initially pleased with the response, Miss Ong Ash recalled her husband warning her later that she was venturing into a danger zone and would be made use of as a scapegoat. Feeling utterly hopeless, she found herself contemplating taking her own life before she managed to snap out of it when she thought about her family. Tingnan niyo, naging ganyan ka-toxic yung tatrabaho dahil wala siyang mapuntahan, wala siyang mabentan, lahat parang pinabrush off. So, muntik na siya magpakamatay dahil sa toxic environment na yan, ng work environment. Her experience with office toxicity happened several years ago, but when Miss Ong Ash, who is now the director of her own firm, Bravery Communications, okay, shared her struggles on LinkedIn early this week. She received a number of direct messages from current employees of the same bank who said nothing had changed. Na ando pa rin yung toxic boss. For a 30-year-old HR manager who wanted to be known only as Sarah, her former boss at a public sector organization constantly undermined her abilities naman, once openly criticizing her as an incompetent worker before other directors at a meeting. When the then communications executive tried to find out how she could lodge a formal complaint against her superior, an HR manager told her over the phone that employee grievance could only be made out if there was a physical violence involved. What? Kailangan pa may sakitan bago so pa rin mental anguish na nakakos, no? Yung psychological effect ng pagmumura at pag-ridicule ng boss. The HR manager's attitude towards this is like, don't make HR life difficult. If you can, just try to tolerate it. It's like telling you, if you're not happy, find another job. Yun daw yung sabihin nun, di ba? So, when Sarah left the organization, her exit interview took just 5 minutes as she sensed that the HR manager was not truly interested in acting upon what she would have to say. So, ayan po ang tungkol sa mga, isang case point, isang last na lang po, no? Over at an international public relations firm, PR firm po ito, where Anna, hindi po ang totoong pangalan, 31, used to work at the office was so small that everyone would know if anyone yelled or cried. Yet, such scenes occurred almost daily. Oh my God, maiiyakan loose. According to Anna, the toxic culture there started from the top. The country head and the parent agency tolerated the antics of a managing director who was known for her F-bombs as much as her charisma, as she had brought in a lot of business for the firm. Reporting to the managing director was a senior manager who also made life difficult for the juniors. Itong senior manager na to would, for example, call out Anna's mistakes sa harap ng lahat and invite everyone else but her out for a team lunch. Bastos, di ba? As the bullying became obvious, the managing director even asked Anna how she was dealing with the senior manager. But the director clearly indicated that she did not plan to take any action even though she was aware of the issue. Kung sinabi ni Anna. Ba't kaya? Dapat yan, inano mo eh. As the bullying became obvious, the managing director even asked Anna how she was dealing with the senior manager. But she said she didn't wanna take any plan of action. To top it all, diba, employees were expected to tolerate abnormal work hours, usually from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m., and showing up for meetings even when sick. Anna, who said she lost a lot of weight and hair while working there, added, as an underling, you just suffer because you have no value to them. No, that's not true, diba? So, ayan po, di ba? Tomorrow, I will continue and tell you, okay, to avoid what are the signs of a toxic workplace. Yan pong i-discuss natin bukas. So, the telltale signs, okay? And itong mga what do you call this, cases ng harassment sa public place, nangyayari yan po as a workplace, nangyayari araw-araw. Like yan si Ana, di ba? Yung loss of weight tsaka loss of hair sa stress period, kaya nahuhulog ang buhok. Then also there is Miss Chua, 28, an assistant manager in the community service sector. Starting out by working for a non-profit organization siya, run by a tight-knit group of family and friends. Yun na nga, itong negosyo na to, or itong non-profit was put up by family and friends. And then, fresh graduates felt that by her bosses, okay? She would be blamed for being late or taking instructions poorly, even when she was not present at lunches or gatherings, where the senior management would spontaneously alter plans without informing her. The last straw for Miss Chua came, okay, when one of the bosses remarked within earshot. Ibig sabihin po, naririnig po niya yung nag-remark ang isang boss sa harap ng mga colleagues niya na naririnig din nila. You are so dumb. Don't screw it up this time. Yan ang sinabi sa kanya. Yet none of those present spoke up for her. Nakarinig sila pero takot sila magsalita. She walked back to her table and immediately drafted a resignation letter. Dahil talaga verbal abuse and mental anguish po ang nararamdaman ng mga stressful sa mga stressful work environment na ito. So tomorrow po, in order to help you and guide you, okay, we will be talking about the signs of a toxic workplace. We will continue this series regarding jobs, okay? But anyway, so yan po, tumating na po tayo sa end ng ating programa. Dahil bumalik sa oras, tsaka na late po ako kanina dahil nawala ako. Actually, nakapasok na ako, bilang nawala. But anyway, nowadays din talaga po, ang internet po ay very trippy. Kababalik lang po ng internet, no? After ilang days ba yan? 6 days ako walang internet at hindi makapagtrabaho ng mahusay. Tapos ngayon, bumagal. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you very much always for supporting Angelica Paz, si Buste, si Jake and Luzar, the lack of family. Thank you so much. But kita-kita po tayo muli bukas, same time, alright, 11 o'clock, dito sa Buhay Online. Ayan, wala na naman po ang active live stream. I don't know yung connection po sa OBS na wala. But anyway, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for your time, okay? This has been Jay Bautista for Buhay Online, broadcasting from Broad Stream Cast Communicators. Of course, we are on Facebook. Those who missed this episode can go back to Facebook and look at the past episodes po na na-miss nyo. So mag-like, share, and subscribe po tayo sa Broad Stream Cast Communicators Facebook and